and I just wanna stay here with you. You are a rainbow, so I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. You are my favorite song. I am a lucky one. 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 Seasons change, but you're the same. Your love is constant. You've never lost it. Your voice is calling out my name. It makes me miss you, even when I'm with you. Oh, nobody wants to go it alone, and I just wanna stay here with you. You are a rainbow, so I am a lucky one. I am a lucky one. You are my favorite song. I am a lucky one. 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 I am a lucky one.
A speedy welcome to the show for everyone. This is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And I'm your host on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with.
Oryiman Tser.
And the Speed Lane is where we talk about issues that affect our lives, our communities, our society in general, and then we get to discuss them and also get to hear your opinion on everything we're talking about. And today we are looking at something that affects us in one way or the other, and that is misuse of government properties. Now, if you notice our roads, even drainage systems or our public spaces and all the facilities provided by government for public use, every day people complain about poor roads, flooding, dirty environments, and even lack of maintenance in public facilities. We ask for change, we demand development, and we expect better living conditions. And somehow, in many cases, they get misused, neglected, or even destroyed by the same people they were meant to serve. Drainages are blocked with refuse, roads are damaged, even careless. A true careless use. You see someone overspeeding, driving recklessly, which leads to damages, on these roads that we once maybe prayed or even cried, requested from the government. So today on the Speed Lane, that is what we are going to be talking about. Why do people misuse government properties? What makes it so difficult to actually stick to rules and to just be human when it comes to government properties? You're supposed to protect your own. You know how you're supposed to care for your things when they belong to you, your personal belongings. But once it's a government property, people tend to do whatever they like. So you also can call in to be part of this conversation. And the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why do people misuse government properties? What makes it so difficult to just be, just be a little more careful when we are using some of those things that we actually wanted, the developments that we asked for, all of those things in place, which are there for our own better living, but somehow people tend to misuse them. So why does this happen? Call in and let us hear from you. And earlier I mentioned I wasn't here alone in the studio. I am here with Oryiman, and we are going to be talking about this together. So Oryiman, how do you say this? Would you say that people actually misuse government properties?
Yes, I firmly believe that a lot of people don't understand their civic duties when it comes to usage of government properties, or would I say public properties, so to speak. People have this perception that it is not theirs. It's not their personal, belonging. So they get to maltreat such, assets, thinking that it's not theirs. So even when time passes, it's not going to be in their name, so there's no point of taking care of it.
Okay.
So we just have to understand that, public, assets and utilities are ours as well.
Okay.
Because we are working hand in hand with the government to make sure that we, make the society a better place, to make sure that these assets and utilities, have a lifespan that would go through generations.
Yes.
For others to utilize and make use of as well, because this is our common wealth.
Yes.
So that's how I say it, Marysyntia. So
all right.
It's sometimes it's very, disheartening when we approach usage of this commonwealth in this manner.
Okay. All right. This is a speed lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, and I'm your host on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Oryiman Tser.
And this morning we are talking about misuse of government properties. Now, you also can call in to be part of this conversation, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why do people misuse government properties? Those public properties that are put in place for our own good, why do people then turn and then misuse them? And when we talk about this government properties or some of these things that people actually misuse, there are a lot of examples. Take for example, roads. Hello. Take, for example, roads, even people go ahead and then dump refuse. I don't know where you are, but, if you even look around, it doesn't matter what part of, the state or even the country that you are. You're always going to see people who dump refuse in the middle of the road somehow, especially in rainy seasons. They just feel like, the rain is going to wash away things. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, Oryiman?
Yes, I am.
People will say, especially maybe people that are selling oranges or, roadside foods. And then once it's dark, it becomes a plan for someone to go and dump refuse in the middle of the road, thinking, nobody is watching. And sometimes even when people are watching, they have become so confident because no one says anything about it. So they have become so confident. Yes, I'll just do it and the rain will wash it away. And but then we are destroying those properties. We are destroying those roads. And I mean, if you go to where people talk, you hear people say things like, we want them to make, to create better roads, in my area as well. Where I come from, the roads are bad, this and this. But then when those roads are created, people start misusing them. Instead, it becomes something that we are dumping refuse on, making it very hard for even the users of that road, like drivers and riders, to actually move freely. And some of these obstructions, when they are there, it leads to accidents on the road. So we are destroying those roads that we're begging for. We need roads, we need good roads here. But then when those good roads are actually put in place, what do we in turn do? So Emmanuel, would you give another example though of some of the things that you've actually seen that you say, this is something that people have cried for or even begged government for, and then somehow we turn our backs, and start misusing those properties?
That's right. For example, right now you can see that there are some specific parts of the state where we have, public properties and public assets that are essential to us and the government as well. Because the government are generating revenue from these properties and these assets. And we, on the other hand, we are working in these places and we are making a living off it. For example, the Wurukum market, the Akbehe road, you'll notice that, the road was refurbished, large drainage channels were created as of 2023-2024 to tackle flooding in that area, and if you go there right now, you'd observe that some traders, people who sell vegetables and fruits, are already dumping some of that waste in those places, and huge work was done there, to make sure that those
And you know what?
drainages were cleared.
Yes.
And the road was properly.
And what's worse is that, people actually complain about these things as they're selling there, and maybe those drainages were not in place. Like, they're going to complain, okay, the government is not doing anything. These roads are bad. Okay, we don't have drainages. How is everything going to move? Like, okay, there's flood, this and that. But then when it was put in place, it didn't even take long. I think that's something that got a lot of people, even on here, we talked about that, when some time ago we actually talked about that, because people complained a lot about that. But then it wasn't even up to a year before they started dumping refuse and then just leaving everything that they were complaining about. Okay, if you went up to a random person in the market and asked, what is the problem? They'll probably point to something like that and say, this is our problem here, or it's because of this rain, or we are just managing, or I hope government does this, I hope they do. But even if the government does that, will they come and sit down and try to control? Because those aren't children that are operating there. Even if they are children, I mean, they are more adults in market areas than children, right? So why are we dumping this refuse there, or even deliberately trying to spoil something that we need? We actually know that we need things like that. We need those drainage systems, right? But then people deliberately, and sometimes I wonder, is it out of ignorance, or do you think that people just know what they are doing? For you, Emmanuel, do you think it's out of ignorance, or do they know what they are doing?
I believe it sometimes is out of ignorance. It's lack of awareness. It's lack of understanding. It's lack of information on the pros and cons of such actions. So sometimes people need to be educated on some of the benefits of these things, and people need to come together and go through community efforts, to understand that this is a joint effort between the government and the citizens.
All right.
So, sometimes you go to certain communities and you see that they have strong associations where they come together every weekend and they have meetings and they speak about the issues that are bedeviling the community.
Yeah.
So just in such public institutions or public places, I believe they have associations as well. They have unions. So these unions have the mandate of, handling such issues as well. So, we can look at it from that angle as well.
Okay.
Where unions and associations educate the members better on the benefits and the do's and don'ts,
true.
In handling some of this public
I also think, even apart from the education, because this part of the world where we are, people always understand, or people understand quickly when there is maybe something attached, like a punishment, probably a fine. You have to pay when if people pay. Those unions you mentioned, if they are paying more attention and then seeing that people are doing it, instead of that, after that education, people should also pay for. If they are able to pay, the only way that maybe probably a Nigerian woman out there in the market will be able to take what you're saying seriously, or even understand that there is danger to doing this, is when maybe they are removing money from that one they are making and then paying, and then they get to say, okay, there is pain involved and there is the punishment involved, there is the fine. So now I have to stop what I am doing. I don't want to be caught doing something like this. So yes, I feel like that will help too, because sometimes the way people can be stubborn, that is something that is necessary to actually stop it, because we cannot allow it to keep happening, because people are not listening. And sometimes even when you're educated, some persons know, they look around, they know what they are doing is wrong, so they look around, try to see, is anybody watching, and then they dump the refuse right in that drainage, knowing that it's not going to pass, knowing that, okay, it's going to cause that blockage, but they still go ahead and do it. So if you have just joined us, this is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And I'm your host on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Oryiman Tser.
And this morning we are talking about misuse of government properties. And you also can call in to be part of this conversation. And the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why do people misuse government properties, those public properties that are put in place for us, for our own benefits, Why do people actually misuse them? Call in and let us hear from you. Hello? Hello? All right, we cannot hear you, but maybe try to call us back again on 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why do people misuse government properties? Those public properties that are put in place for our own benefits, why do we in turn, instead of taking care of them, protecting them, since they are helping us, we in turn instead destroy them? And we talk about street lights as well. Did you know, Emmanuel, that people still street lights?
They steal
They steal it and take it home. I've seen that happen, somewhere in North Bank. It was stolen and then someone took it home. And the only reason that came to light was because another person was planning to, be the one to actually take it. But then when he was outsmarted by the other guy, he now brought it out like, okay, this guy stole the street lights. I mean, the street light, if they are not there, we're complaining, okay, people are getting robbed on the street, bad things are happening because there's no light, for people, because, usually when it's darker, a lot of things tend to happen. And
That's
then, yes, when those street lights are now put in place, someone is planning to go and steal it. Imagine the effort it takes to actually even climb that, to go and remove a light. But someone would do that knowing fully well that street light was there for everyone's benefit. It's not just you that's benefiting from it. A lot of people steal things from even transformers, and take wires from there to go and sell for their own selfish interest, or even when it comes to public schools, you see damaging of decks. Some people take it to make firewood, at home. Some people take that out to go and make, this one is already damaged, we should just take it and go and use it as wood at home, something that can actually be fixed. And also, even when it comes to even all this, anything that is then public, actually, anything that is then public, people actually tend to misuse them. Even if it's a public restroom, that one is government property. It's not. If it was someone's private property, then that person would be more vigilant, that person would be more protecting. But then once it's termed a government property or it's a public one, then it becomes something that we must misuse. Can't we actually do without that? So if you have just joined us, you also can call in to be part of this conversation. And the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why do people misuse government properties? So, Emmanuel, do you think this is a mindset problem, or is it lack of awareness, or is it lack of consequences, like we were talking about earlier?
Yes, I believe the situation, as we see it, it's as a result of lack of awareness. It's as a result of ignorance as well, and it's because there are no consequences readily available to be enforced, to perpetrators of such acts. So I believe we need to do more in terms of awareness creation, so that we can have attitudinal change, towards how we see these things. And community members need to be aware that, everything we see around us belongs to us. It belongs to us and the government as well, that is working towards, making our lives better. So once the people have this understanding, once they're educated on how much this belongs to them as well, I believe the attitude would change. The community members need to understand that local programs are their own too. Local assets are their own. Public assets are their own.
Yes.
They need to understand that that they have equal ownership to the assets, the public utilities, and the public institutions that they see. So once they understand that it's a collective, mission, they will do better. So I firmly believe that if we can have more, meetings and more awareness creation on how much these things are important to all of us, people would change how they respond how they make use of these things. You know.
All right.
Yeah. So
Oh.
Nigerians just need to, understand that government is a process that they are equally a part of. So once good things are done for everybody to make use of, it is for everybody. And if we all put hands together and work towards, sustaining these assets, we would all, reap the benefits of it.
Okay.
In terms of even making these assets available for the next generation and the coming generation. Yes.
All right. This is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And I'm your host on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with...
I am Oryiman Tser.
And this morning, we are talking about misuse of government properties. And you also can call in to be part of this conversation. And the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 090-3648-5868. Why do people misuse government properties? Why is it that when it's government properties, then it becomes something that we use carelessly and we don't pay more attention to? We just damage them. Some persons actually deliberately damage this stuff, saying that, well, it's not my father's own. That phrase that people use to just cover for whatever they are doing, whatever deed, it doesn't belong to my father. So I can do whatever I want with it, knowing that these things were put in place for our own benefits, for our own good. And just like Oryiman was saying earlier, some persons forget that this is not something, it's not your personal, it's for everyone, right?
That's
and you
right.
have to think about everyone else. Even if you don't want to benefit from that, if you don't want that street light to be there, someone else needs it, or someone else wants to see, clearly without darkness when they are walking on the street. Someone else wants those good roads to be there. And the worst part is that people damage this stuff and then start complaining about it. Like start blaming government. Is it government that is actually to be blamed? Because they have provided this stuff, right? They have provided these things. So
Yes.
should it also be their own duty to come back and then supervise from house to house? Like, ma'am, from house number 2, make sure you're not dumping refuse in this drainage. Or ma'am, from house number 3. It's not something that is doable. Like the government cannot, after providing that, they cannot come down and then start telling people, okay, this is what to do, except for those unions that you mentioned. You mentioned about putting in place unions that would actually supervise and then
That's
see.
right.
Yes. So except for that, so call in and let us hear from you. Why do people misuse government properties? Number for you to call is 090-3648 5868. That is 090-3648-5868. How do people misuse? Why do people misuse government properties? Call in and let us hear from you. So, Oryiman, have you ever been in a place where you saw maybe some of these things happened, and all these examples, or even a different one?
Yes, I'll give the simplest example possible right now because, I remember when I was a student at UniAgric, University of Agriculture, Makadi, now Joseph Sawantaka University. We had a lot of institutional assets, assets belonging to the school that others thought that it wasn't their business, to supervise. But, those assets were that belonged to the students, that belonged to the staff, and that belonged to other members of the university community as well, because they utilize those assets. For example, we had the transport system in UniAgric in those days when it was a union that was, coordinated by a pack at SRS Junction in North Bank. So they had this drivers, this seasoned drivers, old drivers, some from Western Nigeria, from Yoruba land, some from Igbo land, and they all came to Makudi to hustle, so to speak. And there in UniAgric, you see that they had buses that were really, old, buses that were old and worn out.
Okay.
And sometimes when you're in these buses, it feels like the bus would tear apart.
Okay.
The different parts of the bus, if it's moving on the road, it's like it to disintegrate into different parts.
Okay.
And you guys will just be left sitting where you are. And those were the kind of transport system modes we had. And no one ever came to, look at it or ask questions about the safety of these modes of transportation.
Okay.
So that's where you have the union, the student union government coming to, take this matter to the university council, so to speak. So that's an example where we have to play a role.
Okay.
Where unions have to play a role, and where members of the community have to play a role. And as well, facilities such as toilet facilities, in the environment. Sometimes when you go to a toilet facility in a public, building, you realize that maybe if they don't have running water, automatic running system, they have maybe a large bowl where water is channeled into for usage in the toilet or the convenience. And sometimes people go there and they make use of the convenience, and they don't fetch water from that bowl and do the necessary thing to do.
I get.
They just leave it. They'll prefer they have an automatic run system, but that has been provided. Water has been provided in a bowl already. So all you have to do is, get your water with your hand and do what you're supposed to do, so you can, get rid of waste. But you still notice that people still don't want to do the right thing. So these are examples of, situations where even community members are not, doing the right thing.
All right.
Or addressing the issue.
Yes.
There's a bin, a large iron bin, just by the road at Jestacker Foundation.
Okay.
Just opposite High Level Market. Sometimes when that bin gets full, people start dumping outside. Now there are authorities who are mandated to, dispose that bin. But them too, they are not found. They are nowhere to be found.
All right. All right.
So it's a synergy. So we just have to address this by, calling on everybody who's involved in community development in whatever area you're looking at.
Okay.
To come together. That's the only way we can address most of the situations.
And I'll comment on that. You said, okay, there are authorities that, have to maybe even dispose that because the bin is full. That example, you brought to mind something. I mean, even on other citizens, if you were in your home, you wouldn't dump refuse on a random place because the bin is full, right? You try to find a solution, but somehow because there is someone that was assigned, then people just, it's harming us too. You don't step on maybe your you stepped inside maybe a fire, and then because you're not the person that was assigned to put that fire up, even though it's hurting you, like even though you're having the burns, you just remain there because, well, I'm not the one that's supposed to put off this fire. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
So it's also our own responsibility, even apart from, I like how you said it has to be everyone, the authorities, all the citizens, like everyone has to do something on their own part as well. This is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM, and I'm your host on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
my name is Oryiman Tser.
And this morning we are talking about misuse of government properties and even public properties, and you also can call in to be part of this conversation, and the number for you to call is 090-3648-5868. That is 09036485868. Call in and let us hear from you. Why do people misuse public-owned properties, government facilities? Why do people misuse these things that are put in place for our own benefit, but somehow people tend to misuse them and then just try to do whatever they like, simply because, well, this is not my personal stuff and I can do anything I want, and we are not even paying attention to that, because at the end of the day we suffer the consequence. Why it might look like, well, I'm just disposing this, it's just is it just my waste that I dumped in this drainage that is going to cause that? But before you know it, it's built up and other people are also watching when you do these things, and the more people destroy, the more people steal those waste bins that are put in public, for to aid people, maybe just to dispose the waste and all of that. But then the more people steal them, people even start waiting in turn, like the next one they bring, I'll be the one to take it, or even the street light, like we are going to plant this, we are going to remove wires, we are going to do this, a whole lot of things, and that ends up affecting us. So why do people do this? Number for you to call is 09036485868. That is 09036485868. And also, Oryiman, let me ask you, how do you think that this actually affects us, as a society, as the people in it? Because if we are doing harm to ourselves, it's supposed to affect us, right? So how does it affect us?
Yes, I feel like it speaks volumes about who we are. What kind of people are we? Are we sane people? Are we really educated people like we claim we are? So those are the ways it affects us, and it reduces our humanity as well. It doesn't really make us look like the real humans. It rather makes us look like we live in a jungle, and not really in a civilized democratic environment. So you see examples of vandalizations of public properties in such a way that it is very alarming. Like the railway lines that we used to have, from Tito Gate down towards David Mack bypass, down towards Naka Road. Most of those roads and those rail lines have been, stolen. Yes.
That place is even like it has become like part of the market. People stand directly on it now and just sell, because they have damaged those, they can no longer be used, and then they turned it into whatever they wanted to turn it to. Now they are selling food and stuff directly on top of those lines.
Exactly. So you can't even find those lines there. And those railway lines were representation of the great democratic heritage that we have. When the trains used to run around.
Okay, we have a call. Hello. All right, we lost that, but you can still call us back on 09036485868. That is 09036485868. We're talking about misuse of government properties, government facilities, and even public-owned properties. So go on. You were talking about
yes. No, I'm just talking about the heritage benefits of our public institutions and public assets. A lot of those places can be classified as cultural and heritage sites if they're properly looked after.
Yes.
People can come there to look and remember what precedents was put in place, what antecedents were put in place by past leaders, by past administrators, by past public figures, heroes, democratic heroes, and so on and so forth. But we see that people don't want these things to be in place. Rather, they want to take these things away for their benefit or misuse them, because they don't think that others need to see those things, or coming generations need to see what has taken place. So we need to start looking at our assets and our belongings, public belongings, with this worldview. So that is the only way we can address this.
Hello.
So mindset has to be changed as well.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is King James Iye.
Okay, welcome to
Okay,
the show,
so
sir.
thank you very much. I think one of the major problems why people don't have regard for government property, first and foremost, is actually public property, so it belongs to all of us. But I think Nigerians or our people had this mindset of thinking that what is government is not mine. So it is government, it is national cake. So with that mentality and that thinking, a lot of people didn't own or still don't own anything that belongs to the government. It looks like it doesn't belong to me. You see tap water, the way they will protect the one that is privately owned, they just get to it, they open it, the water rushes, and it's wasting and nobody cares. The same thing, if you go to a private clinic or hospital, the way you would present yourself is different from government hospital, that nobody owns it, nobody believes it's supposed to be owned by they themselves. And so that attitude is always there. It was because of the military, long military days. But now, that mindset should change if it is not. Once you believe that this is public property and I'm also the owner, the same way you're going to treat your own property that you've used your money to buy or invested in it, that way people will come back and protect government properties.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in to be part of the show. This is the Speed Lane on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And I'm your host on the show. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with
Oryiman Tser.
And this morning we are talking about misuse of public-owned properties. And you also can call in to be part of this conversation. And the number for you to call is 09036485868. That is 09036485868. And we just heard from the radio king, King James himself. And you heard what he said, right, Oryiman? So
Yeah,
what do you
that's right.
think about what he said?
No, he is absolutely correct because what his thoughts corroborated with everything we've just said on the show so far. We just have to understand that if we approach public assets and institutions
Yes.
with the attitude that we have others who are coming, who can benefit from it,
All right. All right. And
we would look after these things better.
And he also said something concerning it's the mindset that people have of it doesn't belong to me. But the question is, if everyone thinks like that, who actually takes the responsibility? If everyone keeps saying, well, it doesn't belong to me. People even publicly say things like, I'm going to use this one. No, let me waste it. After all, like if I get home, I will not see freedom to actually do this. So if everyone thinks like that, like it doesn't belong to me, because these roads, these same drainage systems, these same facilities were built for all of us. But then if everyone thinks it doesn't belong to me, then who actually takes that responsibility? Because they are for the public, which is you and me, which is everyone, right? But then if everyone treats it like it doesn't belong to me, at the end of the day, you end up suffering that too. You suffer the consequence. That is one thing. When people are ignorant, they don't even know that they are suffering consequences of their own actions. They don't believe that it's just this refuse that I dumped here that is actually led to the, but you did it, and maybe someone else also saw you and did the same thing, and before you know it, that drainage is blocked. So it actually comes, just like he said, with people having that mindset that it doesn't belong to me. So if nobody claims responsibility, that is where the damage begins. It's not even always that people want to destroy things, but the idea is, it's not mine. So we actually have to get rid of that. And we were talking about how we affect us even in the long run, and even faster deterioration of infrastructure, the roads, buildings, and drainage systems, all of those things that people cry for. We want the government to do this. We want this to be built for us. We want water. We want this. But when that water is given, just like he said, when that water is provided, people just on the tap and leave it and just go, because the water doesn't finish. But the day it actually finishes, they'll complain and say a lot of things, different things like that. So what can we actually do better, Oryiman? What do you think that we can actually do? Because we don't want this to continue. So what can be done to change this attitude in society?
Yes, I firmly believe that we can have more community meetings. town hall meetings should be organized. Unions should be, set up and created that can monitor, public institutions and public assets. Associations should be set up that can, have meetings and have deliberations on how to use public assets. And as well, inclusion. We should have an all-inclusive, system where members of the community are included at different levels of leadership and different levels of decision making and usage of these public properties or public assets, as the case may be. So if we can do that, people would have a better sense of responsibility, knowing that they're fully involved. If we set up a union here and we say that the drainage from here down to the end of the junction, we clear it every Saturday. And we make you the president. You would feel a burden and a sense of responsibility to always, rally the other members of the union to make sure that we carry out campaigns for cleaning every Saturday. And if you make me the vice president, I will do the same. Now, if we make the next man on the next plot the treasurer, he would feel a sense of responsibility as well, And when we come together and have these deliberations on how to move forward, everyone is involved. Now, the poorest man on the street as well is asked, to come and provide, advice on how we can go about this. You've given him a sense of belonging, and he would make sure he takes the matter as well, takes up the matter. So these are some of the ways that we can go about these things. People have to be involved. It has to be an all-inclusive, system where members of the community are involved in decision making and in usage of assets.
All right. So I would also say, like you mentioned, it has to do with everyone, right? Everyone has to be involved. And first, I would say like that mindset, because that's where the problem starts from, right? So that mindset of it's not mine, that is the first thing that we actually have to get rid of. And that is not something that anyone can police you to do. Maybe an authority can say change your mindset, because you're not in anyone. You cannot actually do that. That is something that we have to take steps to rectify on our own, changing that mindset. And also, like you said, I will agree strongly on those persons, those unions, in communities that would actually look that these things are the way that they should, supervising, creating that awareness. And to add to that, I would say even those fines, like the consequences, they really have to be there for people to understand. That is the language that people understand on this side of the world. I mean, it shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately people only respond positively
to disciplinary measures.
Exactly.
Okay.
When you're going to pay 5,000, someone like 5,000 naira, nobody should throw anything near my own street before I have to pay a fine for it. So things like that would actually help. And that is it for today's Speed Lane. We have been talking about misuse of public owned properties, and when they are misused, the damage affects the same people they were meant to serve. Roads break down faster, even drainage system fails, and communities continue to face the same problems years after years. So make sure we do better going forward, because at the end of the day, development is not just about the government, what the government provides, but how we actually use it when it comes to us. So as we leave today, make sure you ask yourself if you're guilty of one of the things we have actually mentioned. That it's a call for you to stop some of these things, because we are the ones who will still suffer the consequences, all of us. And I've been with you on the Speed Lane this morning. My name is Marysyntia Hangeior, together with...
My name is Oryiman Tser, and I urge you to look at, usage of public institutions and assets with, a renewed and refined worldview.
Exactly.
That is the only way we can go about this, knowing that we have brothers who are coming up, younger ones who are coming up, who would soon grow up as well, and who would love to make use of these assets as well. Yeah.
All right. And coming up next at 10 a.m. after the news is King James 90s Top 10 right here on Asking Radio 98.5 Speed FM. And as you go about the rest of your day, don't forget to remember that what we build together, we must also protect together. Keep enjoying music of your life.
All right, here we go. Rick D's taking you to number 1 this week. Can Bruno Mars hold on to the top? Can he push